All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, Labor Day weekend is wrapping up, and with that said, there are some battles for postseason spots around Major League Baseball as they are truly heating up. And there is an intense battle going on right now for the top spots in the National League East. Now, the Atlanta Braves are the defending World Series champions, and they've also won the NL East in each of the last 4 years. But the Braves have some stiff competition this year in the form of the New York Mets. Now, the Mets have been in first place for the majority of the year in the NL East. And right now, they're the only thing that is standing between the Braves and first place in this division. And I say that because it seems like, every time that the Mets win, the Braves win. And the Braves keep on winning and keep on winning and keep on winning. But with that said, these are two of the better teams in baseball because you're talking about the second and third best records in the National League right now, only trailing the great season and tremendous season that the Los Angeles Dodgers are having. And after the Mets just lost 2 out of 3 at home to the lowly Washington Nationals this weekend, their lead over the Braves is just down to 1 game. And it's going to be gut check time for both of these teams as you definitely want to avoid that wild card round if possible. Now, coming down the stretch, the Mets have the easier schedule between these two clubs. But this weekend series against the Nats is a clear illustration that you simply cannot take your foot off of the throttle. And I talked about this earlier in the year is that you know what? Yeah, you could have a better record than a team this time of the year, and yeah, they could be out of it. But those teams have young guys who are trying to make a name for themselves, and on top of that, there are some veterans that are trying to get spring training invites or contracts with another team for next season. So these guys are hungry, and I think the Nationals showed that this weekend as they were able to take 2 out of 3 from the Mets at City Field. Now, of course, the Met fan base or some of the Met fan base, they still got to be thinking about 2007 and 2008 when the team didn't get to the playoffs. Obviously, that was a different era. A whole lot of things have changed between now and then. But make no mistake, the difference is right now, if you're the Mets, you're going to be in the playoffs because if you look at the wild card race, the Braves have really separated themselves from the rest of the National League contenders in that category. So, with that said, for the sake of argument, if the Mets do fall out of first place, they're a lock for a postseason spot. Nonetheless, both of these teams could finish with by winning 100 games at least. You know what I'm saying? That's just how deep and talented the both of these clubs are this year. And the Braves, to me, nothing has changed from last year with the Braves. I mean, they they cakewalked. I really can't say cakewalk. That's the wrong term. They got on track late, and that was after they dealt with a litany of injuries last year. And they got into the postseason, and the rest is history. Not to say that the Braves weren't already a good team, but sometimes when you're dealing with adversity, it takes some time to get going, and they got going at the right time last year. But nonetheless, the Braves are still a good team, have a very good nucleus, solid lineup, great pitching, and they're well coached. But the Mets have just been there with them blow for blow so far this year. So you have to ask yourself, what is it going to be in this division? Is it going to be the battle tested Braves or the mentally tough New York Mets? Because Buck Showalter, the Mets manager, he gets the most out of his team. And he gets the most out of his team every place he goes on his big league journey. The Mets are no different than that. And, this team is bought into what he's selling and they believe. And, every time that the Mets have a hiccup or, a setback of their own, they find a way to rally and get it going. And I think, I guess the Mets do have to play a double header now on Wednesday against the Pirates after today's game got rained out. But maybe, this day off in Pittsburgh gives them a chance to breathe, relax, and refocus and get back on track. So, it's a lot of different ways, um, that you could look at this for both of these clubs. I mean, the Mets do have the more favorable schedule, like I said. And for the Braves, I mean, there are going to be some people that are going to say, well, wow, they got 2 games with Oakland. starting tomorrow. That is very true. But nonetheless, after that on this road trip, they got 3 games against Seattle, and the Mariners are playing some great ball right now. And then they're in Frisco next week for 3 with the Giants. And the Giants, even though they're a long shot to make the postseason at this point, the Giants are playing some good baseball, and they have not given up as well. Atlanta still has 7 games left with the Philadelphia Phillies. They got 3 more with the Mets. And then they have a pair of series with the aforementioned Washington Nationals. So nothing is really set in stone there. And on the flip side for the Mets, yeah, they got the Pirates. They got the Marlins. They actually have 7 games with the Pirates. Um, they're going to be on the road against the Oakland Athletics. But nonetheless, they got to go out there and take care of their business. That's what it's all going to come down to. Nobody's going to help you at this point of the season. So, I mean, even with that said, both of these clubs are great teams this year, but neither might be able to survive the National League playoffs just due to the fact that it's so deep over there. You have the Dodgers, once again, who are contenders. And like I talked about last week, you have to keep an eye on the St. Louis Cardinals. This is their time of the year when they get going. But for me, this right here is a toss up. You know, typically I would love to go out there and make a pick and say, well, this team is going to win. This team isn't. This is a toss up right now. I think this is going to be a battle to the very end. And with that said, the 3 game series in Atlanta, the end of season or close to the end of the season, which begins at the end of September and goes into the into early October, might be the make or break point for both of these clubs to find out who is going to win this division. But the bottom line is take care of your business. That's what you have to do if you're both of those teams. Just go out there, keep winning, keep playing hard, and the chips will fall where they may. But make no mistake about it. This is a tremendous race. There are some good races going on around Major League Baseball right now for wild card spots, divisional spots, you name it, but it doesn't get tighter than the race that we're seeing with the Braves and the Mets. I think that it's going to be a fight to the finish. And let's just see, is it going to be New York or Atlanta that's able to come out on top? So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.